worse and worse because, you know, from K to 8, it does deteriorate. That's an easy thing to cut. And then when they go to college, they're really at a loss. And I think it's a good skill to have. I'd hate to see it become an easy vegetarian cut. So.
I hope you can go to K to 8 and mention this as well. And Dr. B, can you?
Sure. At our finance committee meeting this evening, in fact, we talked about the savings that accrued by combining the library positions. And my comment at that point was, this is not a permanent savings. I want to move back to a full-time librarian at each school. Can't do it next year because any of the additional state dollars for next year, I think, need to be focused towards reducing class size in core areas. However, the library was something, as I said, we discussed it this evening, and it certainly is going to be addressed as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Thanks for again, I'm Warren Valley. Another quick budget question, Kathy. Languages. Do we have any gains in language? I know we have at Central, I believe we only have Spanish and French right now.
I don't believe so.
Okay, so
At Central, there's Spanish and French.
Okay.
The gain will be a long-term gain, which is, you know that we had tried very hard to create a cohort of students at the elementary level who will be coming in with Chinese.
French.
And we have an agreement with Hanban, the Chinese government, that we forged 2 years ago, that in the future, which would be a year from now, the Chinese government will underwrite the cost, the partial cost of a teacher of Chinese to be shared between Mendham and Central for 3 years.
Okay.
And with that pilot program, that would be the addition then of that language at both schools.
Okay, and no thoughts or consideration of bringing back Latin or German? That's pretty much gone for the foreseeable future. Okay. And just one more comment. I did not see any laughter or any making fun of anything in this board meeting today, except for, and Mr. Button said he wasn't the spokesman for CBS. I can understand that. I mean, I don't know. I don't think anyone's making fun of the people behind, involved in CBS. It's a citizens group. Everyone has a right to speak and make their position known. I didn't see any of that going on today.
Yeah.
I feel like I should say something. My name is Beth Capuza. I'm with Mendham. I've been referred to a couple times tonight, so I feel like it would be dishonest of me to just sit here in the front row. I just want to say that I think people are being misled that this referendum that's being proposed is going to lead better schools. And in the interest of getting information out there, I think the voters who are going to be voting on this need to be as informed as the board who's going to vote on putting it on the ballot. And I also just want to say that while you can say that you're a transparent organization, clearly there are people who read the letter that I wrote. I have been contacted by a number of people, but I have not been contacted by a representative of CBS to answer my questions. So I put that to you to come and talk to me. I'm all ears.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
One last question. It was mentioned earlier in the meeting. Sorry, Mike Spuddy Mendham. It was mentioned earlier in the meeting that the state aid figures are now available. How does our state aid this year compare to last year?
We received an extra $458,000 in state aid this year over last year. Some of that has to go back to the state for school development authority assessment and tuition to state facilities. So I think that leaves us with an additional $300,000.
About $300,000.
And then Mrs. Schramm mentioned that the total budget this coming year being proposed is lower than the current budget is this year? Or is that a misinterpretation?
Yeah, general fund expenditures.
That's $22,000 less than last year.
Thank you.
That includes that $300,000.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Marino, I think I asked you to wait until
if you have a question for me, I'd be happy to answer it. I think you ended with a question and then didn't have said we can't talk anymore. So if you have a question, I'm happy to answer it. If not, I have none.
I don't, but thank you. I misunderstood. I thought you had another question or comment for the board. So, yes. Yes.
I just want to say, after listening to all these comments, I guess I'm very sensitive to the budget, and the budget we're going to put on the April 27th ballot. And I don't know how well it will sit to have a referendum question sitting right next to it. We had sort of a stacked deck last year when the governor came out and said if people don't, teachers don't take wage freezes, and here we were in the middle of negotiations, so it's tough to take a wage freeze, people should vote down the budget. The plurality of the vote last year was greater than any we've ever seen in 10, 20 years. I think that directive from the governor had a pretty big effect. So I hate to see the deck get stacked again when we worked so hard on a budget this year. And people are really making efforts to try to save taxpayers money. And I'd hate to have the taxpayers not be able to appreciate that because they've been distracted by something else. There's a feeling on my part that we're getting a little bit of a bum's rush here to hurry up and get this thing on the ballot for April 27th. The resolutions passed by the three resolutions passed, two of them, Mendon Borough says as soon as practicable. Mendon Township says as soon as practicable. It doesn't say April 27th. I would have hoped that these town fathers want us to have the best information. I've said this before, why do people move here? You want to have good schools, you want to hold up your property values, and you would hope that you would make big decisions with the right information and take the time to understand it and publicize it to people. Miss and John Morrell, I was at that meeting in the new borough, and we did talk Mayor Henry asked about the effect of having the budget on the same, having this vote on the same page as the ballot, excuse me, the budget vote. And I know that was sort of danced around by a CBS representative because I think that there is going to be an effect. I don't think it's going to be a positive effect. That's my opinion. Ms. Karen Arrington, you said that you have spoken with Mike Kelber. Are you a school board member or a member of any school board?
Ms. Tran, with all due respect, I don't really think that's any of your concern.
Well, this district pays $23,000 to be a member of the New Jersey School Board Association, which entitles us to Mr. Kelber's advice and counsel. I don't believe it's available to the private citizens, since we have to pay for it. So I was just curious. I was wondering how you were able to.
And what is your point? That I should pay for his services? That
I'm
I should
wondering where
reimburse
you
the
were
board
able
for his
to
services?
contact him. This is the only way you
Excuse me?
contact him.
So are we in public session, or are we having comments from the board? I asked before to speak. Where are we?
Excuse me.
Is this public session or not?
It's public session, and she was addressing a response based on the budget to Mr. Scobletti.
I'd like to speak when she's done.
So I was questioning under what authority you were able to contact Mike Kelber.
Public information, Ms. Tran.
Public information.
I will tell you that at no time have I ever represented that I'm a board member.
I'm sure you haven't. I just wonder how we have to pay for his advice. And
Can we restrict to the budget?
yes, I'm sorry. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other questions or comments from the public? Okay. You had something that you...
Yeah, Jackie, there's been a lot of speculation about how voters may or may not vote on the budget.
I think we need to go back to new business if you want to discuss, to address another board member. We're in public session right now, and you'll have an opportunity after executive session.
I'll address the chair. Is that what you want?
No, this is public session, and while there was a side conversation that was maybe not appropriate, she was addressing Mr. Scobletti's concern as a board member. So if you have a concern from the public, you may address that. But otherwise, we've had an opportunity for conversation between board members. This is an opportunity for the public.
Okay, members of the public have said that voters may vote one way, voters may not vote another way. There was concern expressed in the public about the effect of having a referendum on the ballot at the same time as the budget. We don't really know how voters are going to vote, And there is a possibility that some may anticipate greater voter support for a budget that is fairly funded, or an opportunity to move towards fair funding. And by fair funding, let's be clear, it's where every town pays the same amount per person. You might get more support. For the budget.
That's your
That's right.
idea of fair.
That's right.
Jamie has.
But we are not, we are open to the public right now, so we can continue this conversation. We can reopen new business after we close to the public. All right?
I'll yield to Charlie.
I actually don't know if I'm technically the public, so can I ask a question?
Stay in the middle, Charlie.
Alright.
Right there.
Right, I guess my question is kind of in the middle, and it's not rhetorical, and I am looking for an answer from, I guess, anyone who can answer it, but I've been hearing sides, we keep talking about the different funding formula, and some say...
Tax allocation formula.
All right, yeah.
That's what the state does.
All right, thank you. And some say that it's for the betterment of schools, and some say it isn't. And so I guess my question is, how would changing it affect, maybe not my education because I'm a senior and I'm graduating, but my younger sister's education, and whether or not, how it would better her?
I can't answer that, but you certainly are welcome to.
The resolution that is being proposed here to have a referendum on the ballot April 27th, if passed, would have zero effect on the operations of the school. It would have no effect on the spending. It would have no effect on the student body. It would have